So I have a question for you. How is it that if the Earth rotates at a speed of 1,000 miles per hour, that if you were to take off in a helicopter and hover for 30 minutes, that you would come back down and land in the exact same spot that you took off from? When NASA can show me an image of the sun, the moon, the earth, and stars all in one photo, I'll be on board. And on top of that, when NASA can provide me a perfectly clear image of a cruise ship on the other side of the earth that is upside down, I will fully 100% wholeheartedly believe that we live on a globe. But until that day comes when that information can be provided by NASA, who has all of these wonderful technology things of, in space, you're never gonna get me to flip what it is that I believe. So I have a question for you. Can anyone explain to me why the United Nations logo is that of the Gleason's map?
Now guys, I found it kind of interesting that the United Nations logo, the International Maritime Organization, the International Civil Aviation Organization, and the World Health Organization all depict a flat earth map. Now ask yourself, wouldn't it be more accurate to have a logo like this right here if we indeed lived on a globe? But instead we have a flat earth map and all of these logos. Also, something else I found very interesting and must be a coincidence that in the George W. Bush Airport, they have a flat earth map, a tree of life in the middle, and the dome over the top. Coincidence, right? And it's almost like how our ancestors depicted the earth. Flat earth, tree of life in the middle, dome over the top. Then we have the man himself, Wernher von Braun, who created NASA. He puts a Bible verse, Psalms 19:1, which reads, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." So hold on, let me get this straight. The dude that created NASA puts a Bible quote on his tombstone that directly contradicts space? Is that not weird? And then we have all these Bible quotes like this one right here, Genesis 1:7. "And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so."
Why is this demonic number everywhere in space? You're telling me the Earth we live on is revolving around the sun at 66,600 miles an hour, while the ground is curving at 0.666 feet per square mile, and the Earth is tilted 23.4 degrees off center, which 90 minus 23.4 is a 66.6 degree angle. The Arctic and Antarctic circles are located 66.6 degrees north and south latitude. Or what about the meteor that hit Earth wiping out the dinosaurs? Because that happened 66 million years ago, and the asteroid itself was 6 miles wide? And then gravity, the very theory that binds all of the universe together, was founded in 1666. Here are a few more: Pluto's average orbital speed, and then Mars's furthest distance away from the sun, and then Saturn's orbital distance. Now this last one doesn't have anything to do with space, but I just find it funny how Apple, whose logo is a fruit with a bite taken out of it, which of course symbolizes the Garden of Eden story, sold their first ever computer for $666.66. I'm not reaching, am I?
Slight 1,600 mile tilt causes more heat than being 3.1 million miles closer. It's the same thing as you walking away from a fire and expecting it to warm you up if you tilt towards it. The Earth is closest to the sun during the wintertime. While those of us in the northern hemisphere are experiencing winter, the Earth is the closest to the sun. Exactly how much closer are we during the wintertime? During the summertime, we are 94.5 million miles away. And during the wintertime, we are 91.4 million miles away. That is more than a 3 million mile difference between summertime and wintertime. During the northern hemisphere summer, when we are further away from the sun, the Arctic melts. And even though we are more than 3 million miles closer to the sun, Antarctica does not melt. During the southern hemisphere winter, Antarctica is pointing right at it. The reason why they say that this is possible is because of the Earth's tilt. The degree on the globe Earth is 69 miles. 69 miles times the degree of the Earth's tilt is 1,621.5 miles. Even though we are more than 3 million miles closer to the sun, 1,600 mile tilt of the Earth turns summer into winter.
Tinfoil hat fact of the day. Did you know
that the U.S. government has had patents to control the weather since 1891?
Do the research.
We're flying so high, we're cracking the sky. Gonna fly out of this dome, my girlfriend and I.
Hey, jabroni.
I gotta play the didgeridoo. I'm not really that much of a musician, and I certainly don't look like one. And, you know, the kind of people that play didgeridoos, they look pretty much like musicians. And maybe I better do something so I look a little bit more like a didgeridoo player. Stand by. So I got a pair of scissors and I made my crew shirt into a real musician didgeridoos kind of attire. And so I can play my didgeridoo now.
Science!
Did you know that this sliver moon phase is pretty much the same as this moon phase, just depending on where you live? Let's get into the details. Using Abba's perfect flat earth model, it all depends on where you live. Above the equator or below the equator, northern or southern hemispheres. The sun and the moon travel in the midst of the firmament from the equator, a little bit northern and a little bit southern. So depending on which side you're on, you may view the moon phases differently. All right, so here we have June 2024 moon phases for the northern hemisphere. So let's go to that sliver on the 7th. As many of us know, when it waxes, the first light comes on the right side of the moon. Now let's go to the southern hemisphere. And in the southern hemisphere, we see that this is indeed a waxing moon coming in on the same exact day of June, but it's on the left side of the moon instead of the right, but it's the same exact moon phase, the same exact day. And here is a simple and plain example. If I'm looking at a light from one side of it, it can appear on the left side, but the opposite side will appear on the right. So these moon phases represent the same time frame depending on the southern or the northern location you are in. And there's only two moon phases that are the same everywhere. The dark moon, but it is invisible, and the full moon is the only visible moon phase that is consistent anywhere in the world. Just another reason it makes more sense that the new moon is indeed the full moon.
This is a map that is downloaded in every autopilot computer on every airplane that has autopilot. This is the map that it uses. The only proof you guys have for round Earth, the globe, is NASA. No information you have ever received has come from anywhere but NASA. NASA in Hebrew means to deceive. This is Antarctica. If you do measurements for distances on how long flights are on this map, are identical to flight times that you look up on the internet. Do your research. It's not a globe. God said so.
Tinfoil hat fact of the day.
Did you know Antarctica is not just a continent? It's a container.
Water needs to be contained.
Research Flat Earth.
I love when people say, I've been a pilot for 20 years, the earth is not flat. Or, my grandpa's a pilot, the earth is not flat. Or they went to high school with a pilot or best friends with a pilot. The thing is, all a pilot can ever experience is flat and non-rotating. Even the flight manuals, they assume flat, non-rotating earth. Flat, non-rotating earth. Now, even if the earth were a globe, which it's not, you would never be able to experience any curve from an airplane anyway. When Felix Baumgartner jumped from 131,000 feet, Neil deGrasse Tyson said, "That stuff is flat." So when you are 35,000 feet, that stuff is flat. All you could experience from an airplane is flat and stationary earth. So all you globers out there who know pilots, stop using that as proof, because all your pilot buddy has ever seen is this. It's okay, you've never seen curvature from an airplane. The pilot has never seen curvature from an airplane. It doesn't matter if you've flown 1 year or 20 years, you're still 35,000 feet up, where that stuff is flat.
So I was cleaning off some bookshelves in my house, and I want to show you guys what this one book in particular says about the shape of the earth. It's called the Harper's Bible Dictionary. And here's what it says about the firmament. You guys can pause it and read it if you want. And it even has a little image of what the flat earth would actually look like. There are so many things about flat earth that are just so legitimately cool. But I don't think the coolest thing is the ice wall or the firmament or anything like that. I think the coolest part is learning where God actually is. Like, there's a throne and he sits on it, and there's a location. It's up. It tells you over and over again. It describes the layout of the earth, and heaven where God dwells is always up. Always up. He's just up. He's just up. He's just above the firmament. Like, there's a solid dome structure called the firmament, and he's above it. The earth is his footstool, and he watches. When you're looking up, he's looking back down.
A rotating disc like this has some interesting properties that have a very useful application in aviation. When mounted so that the axis is free to move in more than one direction, this disc forms the heart of what's called the gyroscope. The disc is called the rotor. The mounting devices are called gimbals. A gyroscope may have 1 or 2 gimbals. A characteristic of a rotating mass like this is its tendency to maintain its original alignment in space, no matter what happens around it. Mounted to an aeroplane, the gyroscope remains stable in space as the aeroplane moves around it. Let's have a look at an example. A gimbal is attached to the aeroplane and able to freely rotate around its axis. Connected to an artificial horizon display, it can show the aeroplane's attitude to the pilot. This is achieved with a gyroscope attached to the gimbal. The rotor has a vertical axis and retains its alignment to the Earth's surface. The attitude indicator shows the bank angle now, while the aeroplane rolls around it. More gimbals give the gyroscope more freedom of movement. This allows the attitude indicator to show pitch attitude as well as bank angle. The level of rigidity of a gyroscope depends upon the mass and the speed of rotation of the disc. A large mass that is concentrated at the outer edge of the rotor, spinning at very high speed, provides the greatest directional rigidity. Most aircraft gyroscopes are rotors that are between 2 and 5 centimetres in diameter, spinning at speeds between 4,000 and 55,000 RPM. The gyroscope has another very useful characteristic called gyroscopic precession. When a force is applied to the spinning gyroscope that changes its direction like this, the gyroscope responds with a force that is displaced 90 degrees to the direction of rotation, and it tilts to the side like this. Of course, in reality, this happens at the same time. One instrument that uses gyroscopic precession is the turn indicator. This instrument displays the rate of turn to the pilot. In this instrument, the spin axis is horizontal. When the aeroplane turns, or changes direction to the right, for example, the precession effect causes the rotor to tilt and drive the instrument pointer to indicate a right turn. The greater the turning force, the greater the tendency of the rotor to tilt and the instrument to react accordingly. It is worth noting that precession and rigidity have opposite characteristics. If a gyroscope has a lot of rigidity, it will not precess very much. If it precesses a lot, it cannot be very rigid.
It came in the mail and y'all are opening it with me. Ooh. Smell it. Woo! Here we go.
The Flat Earth map dates back over 1,000 years. This map is credited to being created by a Persian astronomer. His name was Al-Biruni and he lived between 973 AD to 1048 AD. It's the official map of the United Nations and also the United States Geological Survey. It used to be present in many places before the creation of NASA and the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. Here you see it with Admiral Byrd. This map has been restored by Dmitry from Russia with suggestions of mine, Eddie Alenkar. Known by my YouTube channel Flat Earth Banjo, I asked Dmitry to include the Bermuda Triangle and Point Nemo, a place deep in the Pacific where NASA buries rockets. Then Robert Tozzi, a professional mapmaker, came along and enhanced the map even more. There are many people now selling this map online, but if you could order it from my online store, I would greatly appreciate it. Visit my online store now and order one of the items. I humbly thank you.